CISSP. Domain 4, Communication and Network Security. Communications and network security relates to the network, interconnections, networked devices, and communication processes.
Open Systems Interconnection, OSI, model. Protocol is a standard set of rules that allow electronic devices to communicate with each other. For example, how data is transmitted over a medium such as a wired medium like an Ethernet cable, or a wireless transmission medium, such as Wi-Fi. Open System Interconnect, OSI, is an international organization for standardization, ISO. Layered architecture standard that defines a framework for implementing protocols in 7 layers. OSI layers are arranged in the following bottom to top order. 1. Physical. 2. Data link. 3. Network. 4. Transport. 5. Session. 6. Presentation. 7. Application. Layer 1, Physical layer. Physical layer is responsible for the actual physical connection between the devices. Physical layer contains information in the form of bits. When receiving data, physical layer will get the signal received and convert it into zeros and ones and send them to the data link layer. Hub, repeater, modem, cables are physical layer devices. Physical layer specifications are relate to electrical signals, optical fiber, laser, electromagnetic waves, wireless networks, or sound. Some common physical layer implementations are IEEE 1394 interface, Ethernet physical layer DSL, ISDN, and USB. Physical layer attacks will be passive sniffing over the cable or wireless. Physical layer attacks will be denying service by cutting the cable. Physical layer attacks will be causing excessive electrical interference. Layer 2, Data link layer. Data link layer transfers data between network nodes on the physical link. Data link layer encodes bits into packets before transmission, and then decodes the packets back into bits. There are 2 sublayers of the data link layer are the logical link control, LLC, and the media access control, MAC. Data link layer devices are switches and bridges. Data link layer attack would be forging the MAC address known as ARP spoofing. Layer 3, Network layer. Network layer responds requests from the transport layer and issues service requests to the data link layer. Network layer protocols are connection-oriented and connectionless network layer protocols. In connection-oriented protocols, a logical connection is established between 2 devices before transferring data. In connectionless protocols, as soon as a device has data to send to another, it just sends it. Network routing protocols are Border Gateway Protocol, BGP, Open Shortest Path First, OSPF, and Routing Information Protocol, RIP. Internet Control Message Protocol, ICMP, Internet Group Management Protocol, IGMP. Border Gateway Protocol, BGP, is an Internet inter-domain routing protocol. Open Shortest Path First, OSPF, is a link state interior gateway protocol developed for use in TCP/IP networks. Routing Information Protocol, RIP, is an Internet routing protocol that uses hop count as its metric. Internet Control Message Protocol, ICMP, is used for troubleshooting and error control purposes. Internet Group Management Protocol, IGMP, is used to simultaneously transmit video to multiple recipients. Network layer functions are Internet Protocol, addressing, host addressing, message forwarding, fragmentation, Internet Protocol Security, IPsec. Internet Protocol, IP, provides a standard set of rules for sending and receiving data over the Internet. Addressing is transmission of data from host to destination IP. Host addressing each host has a unique address to provide the location on the Internet. That address is the IP address. Message forwarding, gateways or routers are special purpose devices or hosts on the network that forward data between networks that are segmented, partitioned, or interconnected across the wide area network. Fragmentation is the subdivision of a data packet into a manageable or allowable size without the loss of data integrity. Internet Protocol Security, IPsec, implemented, secure communications. Using virtual private networks, VPNs, and encryption is made possible by the set of protocols that provide security for IP. IPsec security services to accomplish authentication and encryption are: Authentication Header, A. Encapsulating Security Payload, ESP. Security Associations, SA. Authentication Header authenticates sender and discovers any changes in data during transmission. Encapsulating Security Payload, ESP, performs authentication for the sender and encrypts the data being sent. Security Associations, SA, provide shared security that provide the parameters necessary for A and or ESP operations. There are two modes of IPsec: Transport Mode, Tunnel Mode. Transport Mode only encrypts and authenticates the IP payload to ensure a secure channel of communication. Tunnel Mode will encrypt and authenticate the whole IP packet, for example establish a VPN. Network layer attack are focused on specially how network traffic is routed. A man-in-the-middle attack, traffic being redirected to a malicious actor, is an example of an attack at the network layer. Spoofing or forging of a network address is another network layer attack. Simplest network layer attack is denial of service DDoS attack. Layer 4, Transport Layer. Transport layer is an end-to-end transport between peer hosts. Transport layer functions are flow control, multiplexing, virtual circuit management, and error checking and recovery. Flow control manages data transmission from sending device to receiving device. Multiplexing allows several applications to transmit data with a single physical link. Virtual circuits are established, maintained, and terminated by the transport layer. Error checking, creating various mechanisms for detecting transmission errors. Error recovery resolves errors such as requests that data be retransmitted. Transport layer protocols are TCP/IP. Transport protocol is connection-oriented and UDP is a connectionless protocol. TCP/IP transport protocol is a reliable connection must be established. Three-way handshake is used to create TCP connection. UDP transport protocol does not use a pre-established session. Transport layer would be the SYN flood attack that drains a target's network memory resources by continuously initiating TCP-based connections but not allowing them to complete. Layer 5, Session Layer. Session layer is logical connection between peer hosts on a network. Session layer functions are opening, closing, and managing a session efficiently and effectively. Communication sessions consist of requests and responses that occurs between applications. Session layer remote procedure calls, RPCs, is a protocol that one program can use to request a service from a program located in another computer on a network without having to understand the network's details. A procedure call is also sometimes known as a function call or a subroutine call. Full duplex data is sent over a connection between two devices in both directions at the same time. Half duplex sending data in both directions, but only one direction at a time. Simplex operation is a one-way street. Session layer attack is based on authentication to establish a session across the network is compromised. Layer 6, Presentation Layer. Presentation layer is to assure data flow from one application to another application and making sure data is readable. Presentation layer formats are standard image formats, sound formats, video formats, conversion of character representation. Formats, common data compression schemes, and common data encryption schemes. Presentation layer ensures that formats are converted and presented as needed. Layer 7, application layer. End user is closest to application layer and interacts directly through a software application. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, DHCP, works at the application layer. DHCP is a network management protocol that dynamically assigns an IP address, ensures that each IP address is unique. This service enables networked nodes to communicate with other IP networks. Some common application layer protocols are Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP, File Transfer Protocol, FTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, SMTP, and Simple Network Management Protocol, SNMP. DHCP can be exploited using a DHCP starvation attack, where forged requests continually request new IP addresses until the allotted pool of addresses is exhausted. DHCP spoof attack is where an untrusted client continues to spread DHCP messages throughout the network. Attacks like SQL injection or cross-site scripting operate at the application layer. TCP/IP reference model. TCP/IP model was designed and developed by Department of Defense, DoD, in 1960s and is based on standard protocols. 4 layers of the TCP/IP model are application, transport, internet, and link. Link layer. Link layer encompasses the data link and physical layers of the OSI model. Link layer is facilitate TCP/IP data packets across the network transmission channel in a reliable manner. Link layer detect transmission errors. IEEE 802.2 is the original name of the ISO/IEC 8802-2 standard, which defines logical link control, LLC, as the upper portion of the data link layer of the OSI model. Endpoint 25 is a protocol suite defined by ITUT for packet-switched communications over one wide area network. Link layer determines how common data link. Standards like IEEE 802.2 and Endpoint 25 format data packets for transmission and routing. Link layer services are data frame, checksums, acknowledgement, and flow control. Data frame is a defined sequence of bits or symbols. Checksums is data used within a data frame to manage the integrity and received error-free of data. Acknowledgement enables reliability in data transmission because a positive acknowledgement is made when data is received. Flow control manages data transmission from sending device to receiving device. Link layer hardware are network interface card, switch, bridge and hub. Internet layer. TCP/IP Internet layer corresponds to the network layer of the OSI model. Internet layer is responsible for addressing, packaging, and routing functions of data packets. Internet layer transmit packets from host to host. Internet layer performs IP selects the next hop or gateway for outgoing packets across the link layer. Internet layer transfers data packets up to the transport layer for incoming. Internet layer helps with error detection and diagnostic capability. Internet layer core protocols are IP, ARP, ICMP, and IGMP. IP is responsible for addressing routing, fragmentation and reassembly of data packets. ARP resolves hardware addresses from the Internet layer to the link layer. ICMP provides diagnostic functions and error reporting when unsuccessful. Delivery of IP packets. IGMP multicast groups computers addressed for simultaneous broadcast. Transport layer. TCP/IP transport layer encompasses OSI transport layer and OSI session layer. Transport layer services are provided to the application layer for session and datagram communication. Transport layer, session establishment, packet acknowledgement, and data sequencing are accomplished to enable reliable communications. Acknowledgement, ACK, is sent back for each segment received, and if the ACK is not transmitted in a specified period of time, the sending computer resends the data. A connection is established through the acknowledgement service to make sure the destination computer received the data. Connection-oriented means that hosts can exchange data only after establishing a connection. Core protocols of the transport layer are TCP and UDP. TCP provide one-to-one, connection-oriented, reliable communication service. UDP is protocol that provides a one-to-one or one-to-many connectionless communication service. Application layer. Application layer defines data exchange protocols used by applications. This is the highest layer in the model, and many application layer protocols exist. Application layer protocols are used for the exchange of user information are HTTP, FTP, SMTP, Telnet, Secure Shell, SSH. HTTP is the foundation of file and data transfer on the World Wide Web. FTP enables file transfer in the client-server architecture. SMTP allows email and associated attachments to be sent and received. Telnet is a bidirectional communication protocol used to access or log on to networked computers remotely. Telnet has no built-in security. Secure Shell, SSH, protocol uses encryption to protect data transferred between a client and a server. Application layer protocols used to manage service on TCP/IP networks are DNS, RIP, SNMP. DNS resolves a hostname from human-readable language to an IP address. This protocol allows names such as www.facebook.com to be mapped to an IP address. RIP is used by routers to exchange routing information on an IP network. SNMP is used to manage network devices like routers, bridges, and switches. New protocols are constantly being developed. Internet Protocol, IP, networking. Internet Protocol, IP, is the principal communications protocol of the Internet. Internet Protocol, IP, resides at the TCP/IP model's Internet layer and the OSI model's network layer. Internet Protocol, IP, exists in two versions, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 uses 32-bit IP addresses written as 4 decimal numbers called octets in the range 0 to 55, such as 172.16.254.1. IPv4 address classes. Class A IP addresses range of 0.0.0.0 to 127.255.255.255. This class is for large networks and has 8 bits for network and 24 bits for hosts. Class B IP addresses range of 128.0.0.0 to 191.255.255.255. This class is for medium networks and has 16 bits for network and 16 bits for hosts. Class C IP addresses range of 192.0.0.0 to 223.255.255.255. This class is for smaller networks and has 24 bits for network and 8 bits for hosts. Class D or multicast IP addresses range of 254.0.0.0 to 239.255.255.255. Class E or experimental IP addresses range of 192.0.0.0 to 254.255.255.255. IPv6 uses 128 bits portioned into 4 hexadecimal digits, which are separated by colons for addressing and segmented into 2 parts, a 64-bit network prefix and a 64-bit interface identifier. An example IPv6 address looks like 2001:12/1234:5678:1234:5678 ABCDF12:1234. Principal benefits of IPv6 are scoped addresses, auto-configuration, quality of service, QoS, priority values. Scoped addresses, IPv6 adds layer of security and access control for administrators deny or allow access to network services, for example file servers or printing. Auto configuration removes the need for both DHCP and network address translation, NAT. Quality of service, QoS, priority values based on the content priority, traffic management is conducted according to preset QoS priority values. MAC address is a hardware identification number that uniquely identifies each device on a network. The MAC address is manufactured into every network card, such as an Ethernet card or Wi-Fi card, and therefore cannot be changed. IP address is the temporary or logical address assigned, corresponding to a unique MAC address. Domain name is an assigned temporary human language convention that corresponds to the IP address. Implications of multilayer protocols. Many protocols, such as File Transfer Protocol, FTP, Domain Name System, DNS, operate on a single layer application layer of the OSI model. TCP/IP protocol suite consists of dozens of individual protocols spread across various protocol stack layers. TCP/IP is a multi-layer protocol. Encapsulation is an important benefit of multi-layer protocol. Communication between web server and web browser. Web server to web browser data transfer, which is HTTP encapsulated. SSL encryption added to the communication to provide additional confidentiality. Then it is HTTP encapsulated in TCP. TCP is encapsulated in IP, and IP is encapsulated in IPsec, then packet is encapsulated in Ethernet. Covert channel communication mechanisms use encapsulation to hide or isolate an unauthorized protocol inside another authorized one. For example, if a network blocks the use of FTP but allows HTTP, then tools such as HTTP tunnel can be used to bypass this restriction. Distributed Network Protocol version 3, DNP3, is a multi-layer protocol that is used between components in process automation systems in electric and water companies. Distributed Network Protocol version 3, DNP3, was developed for communications between various types of data acquisition and control equipment. Distributed Network Protocol version 3, DNP3, plays a crucial role in supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, systems. Converged protocols. The term converged meaning that the two protocols became one. Converged protocols merge proprietary protocols with standard protocols. Benefit of converged protocols are reduce reliance on distinct, reduce costly proprietary hardware, create variations of performance. Some common examples of converged protocols are Fiber Channel over Ethernet, FCO. Internet Small Computer System Interface, ISCSI. Multi-Protocol Label Switching, MPLS. Fiber Channel over Ethernet. Fiber channel needs separate fiber optic cabling infrastructure to deliver network data storage. Fiber channel allows for high-speed file transfers, achieving 128 Gbps and today reaching 256 Gbps. Fiber channel over Ethernet was developed to facilitate fiber channel to work more efficiently using less expensive copper cables over Ethernet connections. Using 10 Gbps Ethernet, Fiber Channel over Ethernet uses Ethernet frames to support the fiber channel communications. Internet Small Computer System Interface, ISCSI. Internet Small Computer System Interface, ISCSI, is often viewed as a low-cost alternative to fiber channel. Internet Small Computer System Interface is a networking storage standard based on IP. The ISCSI transmits SCSI commands over IP networks and performs like a virtual cable. Multi-Protocol Label Switching, MPLS. Multi-protocol label switching is a high-performance network technology based on short path labels rather than longer network addresses. It saves significant time. Multi-protocol label switching is designed to handle wide range of protocols are TCP/IP, T1E1, ATM, frame relay, synchronous optical networking, SONET, and DSL network technologies. Software-defined networks. In a traditional network, routing and switching are primarily in the realm of hardware resources. This creates a vendor reliance that limits the dynamic changing ability of an organization. Software-defined networking, SDN, is a network concept to designing, building, and centrally managing a network. How routers move packets based on a centrally managed controller's instructions. Software-defined networking, SDN, primary features are flexibility, vendor neutrality, and the use of open standards. Open protocols such as OpenFlow allows access to network devices such as switches, routers, or firewalls that would otherwise not be controllable due to proprietary firmware. Software-defined networking separates hardware and hardware settings at the infrastructure layer from network services and data transmission at the network layer. Software-defined networking separates hardware and hardware settings at the infrastructure layer from network services and data transmission at the network layer. The configuration is virtualized and managed in a control plane similar to managing virtual hosts through a hypervisor console. Software-defined networking removes the traditional networking concepts of IP addressing, subnets, routing, and so on. Wireless networks. The word wireless is dictionary defined as having no wires. In networking, wireless network is connected by radio waves or microwaves to maintain communications. Wireless standards. Wireless network communications are governed by the IEEE 802.11 standard. In 1997, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers created the first WLAN standard. 802.11 only supported a maximum network bandwidth of 2 Mbps. IEEE 802.11 created in 1999 speeds of up to 54 Mbps. It works on a 5.75 GHz range. IEEE 802.11b created in 1999 speeds of up to 11 Mbps. It works on a 2.4 GHz range. IEEE 802.11 grams created in 2003 speeds of up to 54 Mbps. It works on a 2.4 GHz range. IEEE 802.11n created in 2009 speeds of up to 600 Mbps. It works on a 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz range. IEEE 802.11 AC created in 2014 speeds of up to 1300 Mbps. It works on 5 GHz range. Wireless Application Protocol, WAP, used for wireless data access through mobile wireless networks. Wireless Application Protocol, WAP, defines two methods are Open System Authentication, OSA, and Shared Key Authentication, SKA. Open System Authentication, OSA, provides no confidentiality or security because no real authentication is required. Shared Key Authentication, SKA, enforces some form of authentication, and if the authentication isn't provided, the communication is blocked. Wired Equivalent Privacy, WEP, was designed to protect against eavesdropping for wireless communications. To improve wireless security, Wi-Fi Alliance developed a new encryption standard called Wi-Fi Protected Access WPA, replacement for Wired Equivalent Privacy, WEP. The next evolution was Wi-Fi Protected Access WPA to replace WPA. It was meant to replace WEP, but as mentioned before, the 802.11i standard and WPA was implemented independently. Wi-Fi Protected Access 2, WPA2, are two versions: WPA2 Personal and WPA2 Enterprise. WPA2 Personal protects unauthorized network access by utilizing a setup password. WPA2 Enterprise verifies network users through a server using Network Access Control, NAC. Extensible Authentication Protocol, EAP, is a protocol for wireless networks that expands on authentication methods used by the point-to-point protocol, PPP. Protected Extensible Authentication Protocol, PEP, encapsulates the Extensible Authentication Protocol, EAP, within an encrypted and authenticated transport layer security, TLS, tunnel. LEAP, Lightweight Extensible Authentication Protocol, is a Cisco proprietary protocol. TKIP, Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, was designed as the replacement for WEP without requiring replacement of legacy wireless hardware. TKIP was implemented into the 802.11 wireless networking standards within the guidelines of WPA. CCMP, Counter Mode with Cipher Blockchaining Message Authentication Code Protocol, was created to replace WEP and TKIP/WPA. CCMP uses Advanced Encryption Standard, EAS, with a 128-bit key. Securing wireless access points. Conducting site survey are useful techniques for both identifying rogue access points and placement, configuration, and documentation of access points. Wireless access point should be in the central location. Wireless access point should be avoid solid physical obstructions. Wireless access point should be avoid reflective or other flat metal surfaces. Wireless access point should be avoid use of electrical equipment interference. Wireless access point position should be external omnidirectional antennas pointing vertically. Wireless access point should be a directional antenna toward the area of desired use. Wireless channels. Wireless signals are subdivided within a frequency range in increments called channels. These channels are like the lanes on a road or highway. There are 11 channels in the United States, 13 channels in Europe, and 17 channels in Japan. In the United States, the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, regulates the frequencies and has allocated 11 wireless networks deployed in ad hoc or infrastructure modes. Ad hoc mode allows wireless devices to communicate without centralized control. Infrastructure mode prevents the devices interacting directly. SSID is a unique ID that consists of 32 characters and is used for naming wireless networks. MAC filter is a whitelist or a register of authorized wireless client interface MAC addresses that is used by a WEP. Intranet is a network that is limited to internal users. Extranet is a controlled private network access to partners, vendors, suppliers, and customers. Internet is the global interconnection of networks. DMZ or Demilitarized Zone is a perimeter network operate the organizational LANs from the public, untrusted Internet. To provide a layered security strategy, VLAN is a group of devices on one or more LANs that are configured to communicate on a number of different LAN segments. Firewall. Firewall in a building is a barrier to prevent fire. Firewall is used to prevent unauthorized data flow from one area of the network to another. Firewall is designed to permit approved traffic to transit between two environments. The capabilities of a firewall can be accomplished with software, hardware, or both. Data coming into and out of the private network must pass through the firewall. Firewall examines and inspects each packet and blocks those that do not match specified security criteria. There are 4 basic types of firewalls: static packet filtering firewalls, application-level firewalls, stateful inspection firewalls, and circuit-level firewalls. Static packet filtering firewall is the earliest and the simplest of firewall designs. Operating at the OSI model's network layer, it inspects each packet. If a packet breaks the rules put in place, the packet is dropped. It works most quickly. A packet filtering firewall will mitigate the risk of a particular packet type. An application-level firewall operating at the higher OSI model application layer. Application-level firewall seeks application traffic. Deep inspection takes time. This firewall is the slowest. Stateful inspection firewall operates at the network and transport layers of the OSI model. Stateful inspection firewall state is based on how TCP operates and how TCP establishes a session through the three-way handshake. Circuit-level firewall operating at the session layer of the OSI model. Circuit-level firewall is to ensure the TCP handshaking is complete. Multi-homed firewalls having more than the default two interfaces providing the boundary. Bastion host. Screened host is a host computer positioned logically behind the services of a core network routing device that router separates the internal, private network from an untrusted network, which can be the Internet. Bastion host applications are DNS server, email server, FTP server, proxy server, VPN termination point, web server. DNS server is like a phone book for the network, translates from stored directory of domain names to the resolved IP address. Email server is like a virtual post office. For example, stores inbound email for local distribution and sends out emails externally over SMTP. FTP server allows for the transfer of files over the Internet using an established sender and recipient connection, usually password protected. Proxy server is a general application that acts as an intermediary between an endpoint device and another server. VPN termination point is an endpoint for a VPN to extend a private network across a public network. Web server processes requests via HTTP. For example, to transmit data across the World Wide Web. 3 commonly recognized firewall deployment architectures: single-tier, 2-tier, and 3-tier. Single-tier firewall deployment places the private network behind a firewall then connected through a router to the Internet. 2-tier firewalls deployment places the private network is located between the two serial firewalls then connected through a router to the Internet. 3-tier firewalls deployment is the deployment of 3 firewalls between the private network and the Internet separated by firewalls.
Network address translation, NAT. Private IP address is used to assign computers within private network without directly exposed to the Internet. For example, multiple computers use private IP addresses to address each computer within a private network. For a computer to communicate with other computers and web servers on the Internet, it must have public IP address. A public IP address is an IP address that can be accessed over the Internet. Your public IP address can be found at What is My IP Address page. Network address translation, NAT, is a process in which one or more local IP address is translated into one or more public IP address and vice versa in order to provide Internet access to the local hosts. Router has one interface in local, inside, network and one interface in the global, outside, network. When a packet traverses outside the local network, then NAT converts that local IP address to a public IP address. When a packet enters the local network, the public IP address is converted to a local private IP address. Advantages of NAT are NAT conserves legally registered IP addresses. It provides privacy as the device IP address, sending and receiving the traffic, will be hidden. Eliminates address renumbering when a network evolves. Disadvantage of NAT are: translation results in switching path delays. Certain applications will not function while NAT is enabled. Complicates tunneling protocols such as IPsec. Intrusion detection system. An intrusion is a violation of security policy. An intrusion detection system, IDS, is a system responsible for detecting unauthorized access or attacks against systems and networks. An intrusion detection system, IDS, can be a standalone device or exist in the functionality within a firewall. An intrusion detection system, IDS, is to monitor network traffic and/or compare file hashes. If something is suspicious, then intrusion detection system will alert, but an intrusion detection system traditionally will not actively act to prevent the threat. Intrusion detection system doesn't stop intruders, but intrusion prevention system stop intruders. An intrusion prevention system, IPS, is a system responsible for preventing attacks. When an attack begins, an IPS takes actions to prevent and contain the attack. Distinction between firewall and intrusion prevention system, IPS. Firewalls deny traffic but do not have ability to interrogate data packets to identify an attack, but intrusion prevention system, IPS, and intrusion detection system, IDS, deny traffic and have ability to interrogate data packets to identify and stop attack. Security Information and Event Management, SIEM. Security Information and Event Management, SIEM, is a software products and services combine security information management, SIM, and security event management, SEM. The term SIEM was coined in 2005 by Amrit Williams and Mark Nicolette of Gartner as an acronym for Security Information and Event Management. Security Information Management, SIM, is the process of collecting, monitoring and analyzing security-related data from automatically generated computer logs. Security Event Management, SEM, is the process of centralizing computer log data from multiple sources, systems, endpoints, applications, and services, to improve detection of events and managing events through a formalized incident response process. Functions of a SIEM software tool are collecting, analyzing, and presenting security-related data, real-time analysis of security alerts, logging security data and generating reports, identity and access management, log auditing and review, incident response and security operations. Collecting, analyzing, and presenting security-related data, real-time analysis of security alerts, logging security data and generating reports, identity and access management, log auditing and review, incident response and security operations. Network security from hardware devices. Repeater is a device which will receive a signal on one frequency and simultaneously transmit it on another frequency. Repeaters operate at the OSI layer 1 physical layer. Amplifier is used for increases the amplitude or strength of the signal, if the previously transmit signal is found weak. Amplifiers operate at the OSI layer 1 physical layer. Hub connects multiple wires coming from different branches, for example, the connector in star topology which connects different stations. Hub operate at the OSI layer 1 physical layer. Modems are converting analog signals into digital. Modem operate at the OSI layer 2 data link layer. Router is hardware device designed to receive, analyze, and move incoming packets to another network. Router operate at the OSI layer 3 network layer. Switch is networking hardware that connects devices on a computer network by using packet switching to receive and forward data to the destination device. Switches typically operate at layer 2 of the OSI model, but many switches can operate at both layer 2 and layer 3. Access point is a wireless network device that acts as a portal for devices to connect to a local area network. Access points are used for extending the wireless coverage of an existing network and for increasing the number of users that can connect to it. Transmission media. Transmission medium is a physical path between the transmitter and the receiver is used to transmit network traffic. Transmission media discussed are LAN technologies, network cabling and network topologies. LAN technologies. Local area network, LAN, is a data communication network connecting various terminals or computers within a building or limited geographical area. Widely used LAN technologies are Ethernet and wireless LAN. Ethernet is based on the IEEE 802.3 standard and is the most common LAN technology in use. It is so popular because it allows low-cost network implementation and is easy to understand, implement, and maintain. Ethernet operates in two layers of the OSI model, the physical layer and the data link layer. Ethernet LANs consist of network nodes and interconnecting media or link. Network nodes can be of two types: data terminal equipment, DTE, and data communication equipment, DCE. Data terminal equipment, DTE, are endpoint devices employed to convert user information into signals or reconvert received signals. Examples of data terminal equipment, DTE, are personal computers, workstations, file servers, and print servers. Data communication equipment, DCE, are intermediate network devices receive and forward frames across the network. Data communication equipment, DCE, devices are repeaters, network switches, and routers. Ethernet is categorized by data transfer rate and distance. Fast Ethernet transfer data at a rate of 100 Mbps. Gigabit Ethernet transfer data at a rate of 1000 Mbps, 1 Gbps. 10 Gigabit Ethernet transfer data at a rate of 10 Gbps, 10,000 Mbps. Wireless LAN. Two basic modes of Wi-Fi are infrastructure mode and ad hoc mode. In infrastructure mode, mobile access points like laptops connect via wireless routers with access points. The connections serve as an entry point or bridge to a wired private network or directly to an internet connection. In ad hoc mode, mobile units transmit directly with each other or in a peer-to-peer interconnection. Network cabling. Network cabling types are coaxial cable, twisted pair cables and fiber optics cable. Invented in the 1880s, coaxial cable was best known as the kind of cable that connected television sets to home antennas. Coaxial cable is also a standard for 10 Mbps Ethernet cables. Twisted pair emerged during the 1990s as the leading cabling standard for Ethernet, starting with 10 Mbps, later followed by improved versions for 100 Mbps and successively higher speeds up to 10 Gbps. Ethernet twisted pair cables contain up to 8 wires wound together in pairs to minimize electromagnetic interference. Two primary types of twisted pair cable have been defined: unshielded twisted pair, UTP, and shielded twisted pair, STP. Instead of insulated metal wires transmitting electrical signals, fiber optic cables use strands of glass and pulses of light. Network topologies. Network topology is the arrangement with which computer systems or network devices are connected to each other. Topology of networks are ring, bus, star, and mesh. Ring topology forms a ring connecting a devices with its exactly two neighboring devices. Bus topology is a network type in which every computer and network device is connected to single cable. It transmits the data from one end to another in single direction. No bidirectional feature is in bus topology. In star topology, all the devices are connected to a single hub through a cable. This hub is the central node and all other nodes are connected to the central node. In mesh topology, every device is connected to another device via a particular channel. Network Access Control, NAC. Network Access Control, NAC, is a concept of controlling access to an environment through strict adherence to an implementation of security policy. Network Access Control, NAC, methodologies are used to unify endpoint security technologies such as antivirus, host intrusion prevention, and vulnerability assessment, user or system authentication, and network security. Enforcement. Goals of Network Access Control, NAC, are mitigation of non-zero-day attacks, authorization, authentication, and accounting, encryption of network traffic, role-based controls, enforcement of network policy, control access to the network device, identity and access management, pre-admission and post-admission. In pre-admission, endpoints are inspected for policy compliance before they gain access. For example, identifying and blocking out-of-date antivirus definitions. In post-admission, network access is granted but user actions are regulated and decisions to remove access are made based on compliance with network behavior rules. Agent versus agentless. Agent is a software program that reacts to its environment and runs without direct supervision to perform some function for an end user or another program. Out-of-band versus inline. Inline devices sit in the middle of traffic flow, usually above the access switch level, and decide whether to admit or restrict traffic from each endpoint as it logs in. Out-of-band devices separate the functions of deciding and enforcing and report to a central console for management. Remediation is necessary to resolve the problem that prevents access, for example, update the antivirus software. Two different approaches to remediation are quarantine and captive portals. Quarantine is the endpoint is restricted to a specific IP network or assigned VLAN that provides users with rooted access only to certain hosts and applications, like the patch management and update servers. Captive portals is the user access to websites is intercepted and redirected to a web application that guides a user through system remediation. Access is limited to the captive portal until remediation is completed. Endpoint security. An endpoint is one end of a communication channel. An endpoint device is any computing device that communicates through a network which is it connected. Examples of endpoints are desktops, laptops, smartphones, tablets, servers, workstations. Endpoints are operated by end users. Endpoint security is securing endpoints or end-user devices like desktops, laptops, and mobile devices. Endpoint security is the concept to provide sufficient security on each individual host. Highest risk to an environment is the end user. Unauthorized access to an endpoint device is one of the easiest backdoor methods into a network. Attackers target endpoint devices to use the compromised for privilege escalation. Endpoint security follows a strategic defense in-depth strategy. Every system should have an appropriate combination of a local host firewall, anti-malware scanners, authentication, authorization, auditing, spam filters, and intrusion detection and prevention systems. Only applications on the whitelist can run on the endpoint. This can minimize the chances of malicious applications being installed or run. Restricting the use of removable media. Access controls should be enabled and enforced on all endpoints. Endpoints should be configured to automatically lock after a few minutes of non-activity, so that others will not be able to use them. Drive encryption should be enabled to protect data on the endpoint device. An OS-based or third-party firewall should be installed and configured on each endpoint. Applications and the endpoint OS must be kept patched and up to date. Organizations deploy host-based intrusion prevention systems, HIPS, on endpoints to provide additional protection. Network controls are next-generation firewalls, virtual private networks, VPNs, intrusion prevention systems, IPS, and network segmentation. Endpoints should be configured so that any firmware settings and boot control is password protected. Endpoint operating systems should be configured so users are not local administrators. Endpoints should be protected from unauthorized access and theft. Content distribution networks. Content is any publicly accessible combination of text, images, MP3, video, etc. Content distribution network, CDN, deliver content such as images, video, HTML files, and JavaScript from a network of distributed systems to end users. Facebook, Netflix, and YouTube uses content delivery networks to serve the billions of users who requests data from their servers. Content distribution network, CDN, is a collection of resource services, proxy servers, and data centers that are deployed. Content provider is any individual, organization, or company that has content that it wishes to make available to users. Examples of CDN service providers are Akamai, Cloudflare, Azure CDN, Amazon CloudFront, Verizon, and Level 3 Communications. The content is distributed among many data hosts, not centralized in one location. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides site users with faster content load times. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides reduced bandwidth consumption. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides reduced latency. Latency is delay between the time data is requested from a system and when the system actually starts sending it in response. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides better response to spikes or surges in traffic. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides outsourced infrastructure support. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides enhanced security. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides greater user satisfaction. Content Distribution Network, CDN, improved content delivery. Content Distribution Network, CDN, provides speed in e-commerce. The prevailing setup of Content Distribution Network, CDN, is aligned to client-server distribution. Client-to-client or peer-to-peer, P2P, networks. The most widely recognized peer-to-peer, P2P, content distribution network, CDN, is BitTorrent. Peer-to-peer, P2P, threats in content distribution network, CDN, are DOS attacks, poisoning of the network, privacy and identity, fairness in sharing, secure voice communications. Telecommunication is a way of long-distance communication through voice. Alexander Graham Bell inventing the telephone in 1876. Plain old telephone service, POTS, is an analog telephone service implemented over copper twisted pair wires and based on the Bell telephone system. Private Branch Exchange, PBX, is a telephone system within an enterprise that switches calls between enterprise users on local lines while allowing all users to share a certain number of external phone lines. PSTN, Public Switched Telephone Network, was the collection of analog plain old telephone service, POTS, and Private Branch Exchange, PBX, networks. VoIP, Voice over IP, is a method using several technologies to encapsulate voice communications and multimedia sessions over Internet Protocol. Attacks on voice communications systems are: identify fraud, toll fraud, eavesdropping and denial of service, DOS. Caller identification, caller ID, is a service that allows the receiver of a phone call to determine the identity of the caller. Caller ID spoofing is the practice of causing the telephone network to indicate to the receiver of a call that the originator of the call is a station other than the true originating station. Toll fraud is when a hacker is able to access your phone system and make fraudulent long-distance calls from your account. Eavesdropping is where an attacker uses techniques to intercept and monitor communications messages. Voice phishing is a form of criminal phone fraud, using social engineering over the telephone system to gain access to private personal and financial information for the purpose of financial reward. Number harvesting is to crawl the public web and index mobile phone numbers, which will later be used for various malicious and fraudulent purposes. Spam over Internet. Telephony, SPIT, is unsolicited bulk messages broadcast over VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol, to phones connected to the Internet. Voice over. Misconfigured Internet telephones, VoMIT, converts a Cisco IP phone conversation into a WAV file that can be played with ordinary sound players. Telephony denial of service, TDOS. Attack is an attempt to make a telephone system unavailable to the intended users by preventing incoming and outgoing calls. Multimedia collaboration. Multimedia collaboration is the use of various multimedia supporting communication solutions to enhance distance collaboration. Multimedia collaboration tools are email, chat, VoIP, video conferencing, whiteboard, online document editing, real-time file exchange and other tools. Remote meeting. Remote meeting is any service that enables people to communicate, exchange data, collaborate on materials and perform work tasks together. Remote meeting security issues. Does the service use strong authentication techniques? Are the communication open protocol or an encrypted tunnel? Does the solution allow for true deletion of content? Are activities of users audited and logged? Instant messaging. Instant messaging, IM, is a collaboration tool that allows for bidirectional, real-time text-based chat between two users. Instant messaging security issues. Viruses and worms over instant messaging. Identity theft authentication spoofing. Firewall tunneling. Data security leaks. SPIM, instant messaging spam, can be more disruptive than email spam. Email security. Email is widely used and accepted formal communication. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, SMTP, is a communication protocol for electronic mail transmission. Post Office Protocol version 3, POP3, or Internet Message Access Protocol, IMAP, is the standard protocol for receiving email. Email security. The phishing email can deliver malicious attachments and URLs, and users clicking a malicious link or infected attachment is often the first step in a cyber attack. Ensure non-repudiation, meaning that the sender is the sender. Restrict access to messages to their intended recipients, privacy and confidentiality. Maintain the integrity of messages. Authenticate and verify the source of messages. Verify the delivery of messages. Classify sensitive content within or attached to messages. Email security should be defined by a policy that is supported by management. Email security policy should be: acceptable use, access control, privacy, email management, email backup and retention, A flooding of emails to a specific inbox is called mail bombing. Remote access. Remote access is the access a computer or a network remotely. Remote access security methods are restricted allowed addresses, geolocation, caller ID, callback, and multi-factor authentication. Restricted address blocks access to the network-based allowed IP addresses. Geolocation blocks access based on the geographic location of the user. Caller ID restricts access to the network based on allowed phone numbers. Callback restricts access to the network by requiring a remote user to first authenticate to the Remote Access Service (RAS) server. Multi-factor authentication requiring users to authenticate with a user ID and password plus an additional factor such as a one-time passcode token, or biometric. Remote Access Service (RAS) servers utilize the point-to-point protocol (PPP) to encapsulate IP packets and establish connections. Point-to-point protocol (PPP) are three authentication protocols: Password Authentication Protocol (PAP), Challenge Handshake Protocol (CHAP), and Extensible Authentication Protocol (EAP). Password Authentication Protocol (PAP) uses two-way handshake to authenticate. Challenge Handshake Protocol (CHAP) uses three-way handshake to authenticate. Extensible Authentication Protocol (EAP) adds flexibility to point-to-point protocol (PPP) authentication by implementing various authentication mechanisms or MD5 challenge, S/key, generic token card, digital certificates, and so on. Users pass login credentials to a Radius server for authentication. Radius is an AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting protocol that manages access in an AAA transaction. Diameter is the successor to Radius. One significant improvement Diameter provides is added reliability. TACACS is an alternative to Radius. TACACS is in 3 versions: Original TACACS, Extended TACACS, StackHawks, and TACACS Plus. TACACS integrates the authentication and authorization processes. Extended TACACS, StackHawks, keeps the authentication, authorization, and accounting processes separate. TACACS and improves StackHawks by adding two-factor authentication. Virtual Private Network, VPN. Virtual Private Network, VPN, is a communication tunnel establishes a secure, private connection through an untrusted network. Tunneling is the network communications process that encapsulates a packet of data with another protocol to protect the initial packet. VPNs can be implemented using software or hardware solutions. Common VPN protocols are Point-to-Point Tunneling Protocol, PPTP. Layer 2 Tunneling Protocol, L2TP. IP Security, IPsec, Protocol. Point-to-Point Tunneling Protocol, PPTP, encapsulates the PPP packets and creates a point-to-point tunnel connecting two separate systems. Layer 2 Tunneling Protocol, L2TP, was derived to create a point-to-point tunnel to connect disparate networks. IP Security, IPsec, protocol is both a standalone VPN protocol and the security mechanism for L2TP. IP Security, IPsec, has two functions: are authentication header, AH, and encapsulating security payload, ESP. Authentication header, AH, provides authentication, integrity, and non-repudiation. Encapsulating security payload, ESP, provides encryption to protect the confidentiality of transmitted data. Data communications. Data communications are the exchange of data between two devices using one or multiple forms of transmission medium.
Telnet provides bidirectional, interactive, text-oriented communication over the Internet or within a private network over TCP. Secure Shell SSH is a replacement for Telnet. Secure Shell SSH protocol are SSH1 and SSH2. SOCKS is a protocol used for networking through a proxy server. SOCKSv5 is the current protocol version that also provides authentication. Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, is a session-oriented protocol that can be used to secure web, email, FTP, or even telnet traffic. Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, replaced by Transport Layer Security, TLS. Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, and Transport Layer Security, TLS, support secure client-server communications and preventing tampering, spoofing, and eavesdropping. Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, and Transport Layer Security, TLS, support one-way authentication using digital certificates. Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, and Transport Layer Security, TLS, support two-way authentication using digital certificates. Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, and Transport Layer Security, TLS, encapsulate all higher layer protocol payloads. Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, and Transport Layer Security, TLS, implemented at network layer to operate as a VPN. Frame Relay uses packet switching to perform wide area networking, connecting networks. Operating at physical and data link layers of the digital communication channels. Asynchronous Transfer Mode, ATM, is a high-speed networking standard that can support both voice and data communications.
Virtualized networks. Virtualized network is the combination of hardware and software networking components into a single integrated entity. Software-defined networking is an approach to network operation, design, and management that models flexibility and choice. Software-defined networking removes the traditional networking concepts of IP addressing, subnets, routing, and so on. Software-defined networking improves the ability to respond to changes and threats, to adapt quickly to dynamic physical and business conditions, and to take advantage of best available technology. The purpose of software-defined networking is to separate hardware and hardware-based settings from the network services of data transmission. Software-defined networking splits network traffic into three components: data, data transmission method, and data purpose. Software-defined networking architecture are: infrastructure layer, data plane; control layer, control plane; application layer, application plane. Application layer, application plane, are network services, utilities, and applications. Control layer, control plane, are the intelligence in devices. Infrastructure layer, data plane, are network switches and routers and data. Virtual Machine App creates a virtualized environment that behaves like a separate computer system, complete with virtual hardware devices. Hypervisor is a form of virtualization software used in cloud hosting to divide and allocate the resources on various pieces of hardware. Types of hypervisor are Type 1 hypervisor and Type 2 hypervisor. Type 1 hypervisor runs directly on underlying host system. Type 2 hypervisor is a host operating system runs on underlying host system. Cloud computing. Cloud computing is the practice of using a network of remote servers hosted on the Internet to store, manage, and process data, rather than a local server or a personal computer. Cloud computing advantages are: reduced cost, speed, global scale, and reliability. Essential characteristics of cloud computing: per NIST 800 to 145, R. On-demand service, broad access, pooled resources, elasticity and measured service. Cloud computing service model are software as a service, SaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, infrastructure as a service, IaaS. Software as a service, SaaS, is on-demand software is centrally hosted to be accessible by users using client via browsers. Example of SaaS is Office 365, Google Apps. Platform as a service, PaaS, is offers development tools, configuration management, deployment platforms, and migrate the app to hybrid models. Examples of PaaS are Google App Engine, Microsoft Azure. Infrastructure as a service, IaaS, is a service model that delivers computer infrastructure on an outsourced basis to support enterprise operations. Examples of IaaS are Amazon EC2, Cisco Metapod. The Cloud Security Alliance, CSA, is a not-for-profit organization that offers a controls matrix of security controls. European Union Agency for Network and Information Security, ENISA, publishes best practices papers on cloud computing. Cloud computing security concerns are data breaches, control of data, hijacking of accounts, malware injection, data loss, insecure APIs and insufficient due diligence. Controls for cloud security are access and authorization control, logging and auditing, cryptographic key establishment and management, incident response,